right, y'all. Great day, great day, great day. I'm Ken Canion, your host of Love, Lust, and Lies. And today's show, we got a good show for you today. We got something real good because it's something I get all the time. So I wanted to do a whole live about it. You know, dating over 40. And that could mean 40, 50, and 60. And we're going to talk about what to do. 6 things you should do because when you're dating over 40. And, you know, I did this because there are a lot of people out there who are over 40 who've just given up from dating. They've given up from dating and they should not because they have a true desire to meet someone. But they've got to change this. They've got to change their thought process if you're ever going to date in this new age. And there are things you're going to have to do, ways you're going to have to think. And so today I wanted to do a whole live on date. So if you know anybody over 40 who wants to date, women, you know anybody over 40 who wants to date, this one is geared toward women. I have another one I'm going to do geared toward men over 40, but it's a little bit different for men over 40 and women over 40. The first thing you have to determine is, number one, and this is not number one. This is the first thing you have to determine is the introduction. You have to determine why I want to date. Many people don't understand why they want to be in a relationship. Why do you want to date? Do you want it for the companionship? Do you want it because everybody else is talking about you need to be in a relationship? Okay, so why do you want to date? Do you want to date because you want to share a life with someone? You want someone to empower you. You empower someone else, someone to travel with. You first got to understand why it is you're dating, because here's why that's important. Because if your why isn't big enough, your how will not be big enough. When your why is big enough, the how becomes irrelevant. I've said that many times before, because if your why is big enough, why you want to date? Because I want to share my life with someone. I have so much to offer. I believe that I'm worthy to be there. When your why is big enough, then the how I'm going to tell you what to do will not seem like it's insurmountable. Or you might not be like, hell no, I ain't doing that. Because I'm going to teach you how to do it. All right, I'm going to teach you how to do it. So yes, your why has to be big enough. You're right. And so let's get started. Number one, the number one thing you have to be conscious of, the thing you have to realize when you're dating over 40 as a woman, what you have to understand, you have to be willing to work on your personal brand. All right, that's number one. Each one of us has a personal brand. Each one of us, and a personal brand is nothing more than the perception that people have about you based on the messages you put out. So Saks Fifth Avenue puts out a message about their brand. Come here because we have expensive clothing. We are a high-end clothier retailer. That's their message. When they put that message out there, they're going to attract people who want to come to a high-end retailer. And so many of us are putting out messages for our personal brand. You don't work on your personal brand. You say things like this: take me as I am. You say things like this: I ain't changing for no damn body. You say things like that, and thus you attract that kind of person in your life. Okay? And so what I'm telling you is let's get conscious about our personal brand, and let's get conscious about the messages we put out there. Let's get conscious about the things we're doing, the pictures we're taking. That's why, Seema, I love that picture, because that's a brand picture to me. And I'm not saying, what I'm saying is, y'all listen, let me tell you what I am saying. I am saying a lot of you all are putting out messages that are incongruent to the type of person you want to attract. You're putting out messages where you angry as hell, where you are negative as hell, and then you expect to attract somebody positive. God, imagine that. That's not the way the law of attraction works. Like attracts like. You're going to attract the type of people based on the messages you're putting out. The messages you're putting out is based on the energy you have inside you. And that energy is going to attract a certain kind of person. And so when you attract that person, you get mad, but you're only attracting the person because that's what's in you. That's what's in you. And so I tell people, that's why you got to be willing to change your brand. You got to be willing to change your messaging. You got to be willing. If you're not willing to change your message, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. Now, if you are willing, that means you have an open heart. That means your energy level is willing to rise to attract the kind of person that you desire. Okay? And so when you get over 40 and 50, what happens is you get stuck in your ways. You get stuck in your ways and you're not willing to empower yourself. You're not willing to change. And so thus you keep getting the same things you have been getting before. Now, the question is this, is I work with people with personal brands. I understand branding because I'm very good at it. And that's helped me get on TV shows, reality shows, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of interviews that help me attract you. Okay? My brand helped attract you. And you're my ideal client. And because here's the thing, if you're willing to put out the messages, and I'm not saying be inauthentic, be authentic. But let's put out what kind of message. Let's determine what it is you want. And let's put out messages to attract that. And if you're interested in how to do that, I want you to book a discovery session with me. All right, book a discovery. Go to grandcanyons.com and book a discovery session. And let's craft your brand if you really want to do it. Okay? Now, if you're in my classes already, if you're in my class, you're going to learn. You're going to learn this. If you're already in my class, you're going to learn this. Number two, if you're dating over 40, what should you do? Listen, y'all, this is the part where people are going to be mad at me, but I don't care. I don't care. My wife loves me. I love me more. I love me. Number two, embrace online dating. So, some people are going to be like, oh, hell no, Ken. So listen to me. Listen to me. Okay, first of all, when you were dating at 20, the way our environment was set up, it was you met people out, you did it at a certain, because when you were 20, you know what? I can't stand you, Tree. When you were 20, you were in an environment that you were encapsulated in an environment. And in that environment, you did the things in that environment that allowed you to meet other people. And because you had a belief system that in that environment, I'm going to meet people. You know, I'm only 20-something years old. And if I meet somebody, if I go out, then I'm simply collecting data. Why is it that when you get to 40 and 50 years old, you're no longer collecting data? And so this is why I tell people that they've got it wrong. Even in my church and Christian churches that I go to, they say things, you should date to marry. No, you should date to collect data, all right, to determine if this person is worthy of you marrying or worthy of you getting in a relationship. Before you ever get married, you got to determine, you got to date. Why is it that when I go buy a car, an investment, buy a house, an investment, why is it that I would drive more than one car? To see if this car fits me. But why is it that when you date a person, first thing after 3 weeks, where are we going with this? What we doing? Listen, y'all, dating, and one of the things I get my people to understand this is a powerful concept. That dating is simply collecting data. Stop having all these fantasies around dating. Dating, if me and you going out to get something to eat, if we going out to get something, that's all we're doing. That's it. We're not doing anything else but getting something to eat. What we are doing is we are getting something to eat. We're collecting data about each other. And once we input that data, we may realize that we just went out on the date and got something to eat. And the truth is, we're not really compatible, but that's cool. All we did was collect data. When you look at dating like that, now all of a sudden there is no pressure. What happens is, because you create this fantasy in your head about dating somebody, you put all this undue pressure on yourself. And then when you do that, you transfer that pressure to the other person because you loaded the pressure down on yourself. And then what you're doing is you tell people, you're like, what we doing? Well, I don't want to play no games. Playing games? We're collecting data. We have so many limiting beliefs about dating. What happens is we create these fantasies in our mind. And in these fantasies, We're looking at the other person, seeing if they fit inside of the fantasy. So no, we're not just eating. So when you're looking at the guy, what you're doing is you're seeing if the guy fits inside your fantasy. And then when he doesn't fit inside your fantasy, what happens is now he's not no longer worthy. I've seen women date guys and all of a sudden I'm like, how the hell did you let him go? Because he ain't got no job. He ain't got no job making $120,000 a year. I said, but if he makes $40,000 a year and he loves the hell out of you, what? I don't even know what to say. I'm like, what are you doing? You've created this fantasy, and y'all, these fantasies are nothing more than that. Fantasies. They are fantasies. Okay, so when I tell people to embrace online dating, see, when you're 40 and 50, a lot of people say, I'm old school. This is what they say. Listen to me. I'm old school. When you say I'm old school, you know what you're saying? You're simply saying that to justify your current way of thinking. So I'm old school. I don't think like that. I'm old school. And what you're simply doing is you are justifying because you think the way that you're thinking. Number three. Oh, this is a big one. I know y'all don't get mad at me about this one. I don't care. Number 3, stop expecting to be wined and dined, ladies. Now listen to what I'm going to say. I want you to understand for a moment. I want you to think of this from the guy's perspective. And when I told a lady this the other day, she was like, She says, I said, so if you're dating and you're going out and you are out there and you saying, I'm old school, you got to take me out. Okay? Now, here's how a man sees that. The man says, so I got to take you out all the time. I got to take out all these different women just to get to know you. I got to take you out just to spend time with you. I got to pay every single time. This is the new paradigm that the man thinks of. He's saying, so I'm online. I don't know if it's going to work. We've gone there. And he's saying, so I'm just saying, I'm not saying that he doesn't pay. I'm not. I'm just helping you to understand it from his perspective. So he's saying, so I got to pay every time I want to spend time with you. Okay? And so what I'm saying is, and you're like, and ladies are like, oh yeah. And what I'm simply saying is be open. Be open to us gathering down at each other. You pay for you, I pay for me. Because it may not work out. And now there is no pressure on anybody. Now if the relationship continues, okay, fine. But if we're collecting data, why should the man have to pay every single time? I'm just saying, how come we both can't just go? Because you got to understand how he's thinking. He's thinking, if I'm going on multiple dates trying to collect data, and we're going to get to the multiple dates in a second. I'm going on multiple dates trying to collect data. At the end of the day, how come we both can't pay for ourselves? Because we're just collecting data. We're not deeper than that. It's not deeper than that. Y'all, we make it deeper than that. We make it deeper than that. So if we go to Starbucks, that's why now, joking, the new game is let's just go get coffee. You know, that's the new game, because which makes sense to me. I'd be like, all right, look, can we go get some coffee? You know, I'm thinking Starbucks might be $7. Okay, so I spend coffee on that's $15 right there. Just us to chat. And so I like that. I like the coffee thing, but don't expect to be wine. Lower your expectation on that, because don't expect to be wine and dine every single time. I'm just saying, y'all, we just keep it at 100. We're dating over 40. That's what this is all about. Okay? Because just like you stuck in your ways, he's stuck in his ways. And so we have to be willing to bend our reality. Bend our reality. When you bend a person's reality, you cause them to think a little bit differently. That's all I'm trying to do right now, is bend your reality to another thought. And you might not say today, I'm going to do it, Ken. I'm going to do it. But I want you to think about it. I just want you to think about it. And that's why I do it. Number 4. Ooh, this is going to be good right here. Number 4 is develop your text game. Develop different styles of communication. People are communicating via text now. I'm not a big text guy at first. I mean, I wasn't. I like to talk. I like to communicate. But what happens nowadays, People are communicating via text. So what I want you to do is learn how to communicate via text and learn how to take some things to the phone. Because, yeah, there are certain things you want to learn how to communicate via text. And so when you're communicating via text, do you ever notice how sometimes, a lot of times when you get involved with a back and forth with somebody, and then the person misconstrues what exactly you meant by what you said? And have you ever done that? Yes, it happens all the time. You know why? Because when somebody has a text, they're sending a text out. What happens is the receiver attaches the emotion to the text. The reason they created emojis were created simply so you could attach an emotion to the text. Okay, so that the other person would not misconstrue your text. That's why when you say something sarcastic and you send the laugh out loud, you put laugh out loud or the crazy laughing emoji, you're saying, I'm just joking with you. But some things you can't, there is no emoji that might symbolize what you mean. And so you say it and then the other person gets it, they read it like this, they like, huh. Yeah, y'all ever read a text and all of a sudden you read the text, and then when you read the text, you kept reading that text, and the more you read that text, the angrier you got, because you attached your emotion to the text. Okay? Now, what I'm telling you is to either understand how to communicate better, learn how to communicate better, call me if you don't know, how to communicate the way you need to communicate. And so what I'm saying is learn the different communication styles. If you talk on the phone, then what you do is you say, hey, listen, I don't mind texting, but I like to talk to you sometimes later on. I like us to talk. If we're just talking about certain issues I want to talk about, I don't want to text about. And that's when you lay down your boundary. And that's cool too. And if he never wants to talk, I'm going to be cautious. I'm going to tell you something. If you get with a guy, listen to me carefully, that always wants to text, always, I don't care who he is, he's not that serious about you. He got an ulterior motive. Maybe he just want to hit it. Maybe he want to get something from you, money, whatever it is. If you meet a guy that only wants to text with you, he's just not that into you, period. If you meet a guy that's his main mode of communication, okay. But he will talk every now and then. He may not want to. All right, cool. But I'm just saying, you got to be willing to learn how to communicate differently. And don't just get stuck in your ways. Yo, stop just sending random text messages and you don't know what you're saying. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to lead them down the path. You don't know how to communicate a certain issue, thing that you're having. Reach out to a professional, all right? I don't know how many relationships were busted up over text. Then they had a Dr. Canion around. Woo! Number five. Don't focus on one person. Listen, if you're dating in this world, until the person that you're with saying we're exclusive, don't focus on one person. Focus on multiple people. Talk to multiple people. Because what happens is, if you are not established as exclusive, then you want to continue to date. Why? Because you're collecting data. See, the reason why a lot of women don't want to date more than one person is because they'll create the fantasy about that person. And they'll create the fantasy in their head about that person. And once the fantasy is created, it's created. Okay? And that's the mistake they make. And so what I'm saying is, don't focus just on one person. While you're collecting data, go out more than once. Y'all, when people limit themselves to just one person. All right, so my client, my guy. So a guy that I coached for 2 years. And this was before I started really, I've been coaching, this is the 3rd year. So I got into real relationship coaching about 3 years ago. And he was the catalyst to bringing me into relationships. I spoke at a marriage retreat. So I've been dealing with relationships, me and my wife, but getting into actual coaching individuals. And so I told him You know, him and his wife were splitting up. Come to find out his wife was cheating on him. And I told him, I said, listen, here's what I want you to do. Before we ever go into dating again, let's deal with you. Let's deal with your healing. So we dealt with that for 3 or 4 months. Then he was ready to date. So this is what I told him. I said, here's what I want you to date. I want you to do. And he was the one where we developed the whole coffee thing. Because he was like, Ken, I'm old school. I got to pay for all these. I was like, do you choose to pay for them? Why do you make that assumption? I said, you make that assumption because they make that assumption. I said, so this is when we came up with this. I said, all right, so let's take them to get coffee. Let's do coffee. Coffee is inexpensive, and let's talk over coffee. Now we're not focusing on the dinner. We're focusing on, not focusing on the dinner, because if we're not going to dinner, we're focusing on the conversation. And I want you to date as many women as humanly possible. I didn't say sleep with them. I said because when you sleep with them, the problem with that is they're going to believe something that is not necessarily true. So do not sleep with them. And so I want you to date and gather data. And he was the one that said, dude, this is amazing. And so he dated roughly 13 women. 13 women. And he would send me the picture, and I'd say, wow, she's beautiful. Wow, she's beautiful. Wow, she's beautiful. Not a nice-looking girl. A lot of nice-looking girls. So he would tell me, I said, but let's beyond the physical. What are they talking about? What are your conversations about? So I trained him how to ask questions, how to be yourself, be authentic. And I said, the person who you're supposed to get will come to you. Keep putting out this message. Fast forward 2.5 years. Well, here we are, 2.5 years later, almost 3 years later, he's my friend. Now he went from my client to my friend, and he is actually getting married in April. Would have got married in August, but it's going to be in April, and I'm going to be his best man. We're going to do it on Lake Norman on a boat, and I'm his best man. I was honored that he asked me, but here's what he said. He said this. He said, when I collected data, I was armed with the data. Now I knew what I wanted. I knew my core values, what I've taught him to understand. I knew what my deal breakers were. And there was one young lady that stood out. And she was the one young lady that stood out. And I was like, I was drawn to her. So, and she said she was drawn to me. I was like, that's your brand in action. That's the law of attraction in action. You manifested your wife. You manifested her because of your actions. And he said, because I didn't focus on one person, I had other things to compare to. I knew what I wanted. That's why I'm telling you. Don't focus on just one person, y'all. Get out of these fantasies in your head that this person, and seeing if this person fits into your fantasy. Stop it, y'all. Stop that. And when you tell yourself things like, I only have a certain amount of time. What that is a limiting belief. That's a limiting belief. And when you have a certain amount of time, when you say I only have a certain amount of time, what you're doing is you're bringing your energy level down. The other person feels that. And so now they feel like I'm being rushed instead of having the natural flow of things in the relationship. And that's how I'm telling you how to attract the one you want. And the last thing is number 6. Yeah, this right here. Be willing to compete. Listen, y'all, we compete for everything. We compete for jobs. We compete for houses. We compete for everything. We compete for jobs. And so what happens is, what I mean is, you know what? You say things like this. I ain't going to compete with nobody else. Yes, you are. You're always that's why you want to put your best foot forward. That's why you want to be the best person that you can be. We are all competing. And when you look at it like that, see, the guy is competing for you too. And what happens is when you look at it like I'm in a competition, what I'm saying is, see, everything we do, y'all, we have told ourselves that I don't have to compete. I'm not competing. Yes, you are. Because when you're trying to get a job, we're competing with people in China, India. You tell your children, you got to compete. You got to be willing to compete. Why is that any different in dating? So here's the thing. Here's what I mean by compete. I don't mean that either you sleeping with both those pigs. I'm not talking about that. That's something different. What I'm talking about in competing is, what I'm saying is, okay, I realize that the other person has other options. I realize that. A man's got other options with you. You've got other options with him. If the man, let me ask y'all a question. Seema, if two men that you liked were enamored with you, and one man did not put forth the best effort to be with you, what would you say? You would say, you're not putting forth the effort. I want to be with the other person. What you're really saying is you're not competing. Listen, Target is competing for your business, for your money. They craft their brand to bring you to them. Saks Fifth Avenue. I mean, all of the companies out there, ads you see on Facebook, they're competing for your eyes, for your attention. They try to put the best foot forward. And so what I'm saying, y'all, be willing to compete. Be willing to establish a brand. Put your best foot forward and say, you know what? I'm the best person for the job. I'm the one that should be chosen without compromising who you are. Without compromising who you are. Yes. Oh my goodness, y'all. But you know what happens when you get over 40? When you get over 40, you feel like I ain't got to compete no more. Why? Why? The only thing different is your thought process. That's the only thing different. People are dating at 40. People are dating at 50. People get married at 50. They get married at 60. They get married at 70. And the truth is it's all about what you believe. If you believe there's nobody out there for you, if you believe that you can never get married, if you believe that, you know what, if I change me, I'm compromising me, then you're going to keep getting what you're getting. But if you want to get something different, you got to be willing to do something different. All right? That's my time. Well, I went way over today, y'all. Why y'all didn't tell me?